Okay, so FX3 builds have gone crazy over the past like 5, 6 years. But today we have the ultimate FX3 build, sort of. All right, hello everyone, my name is Griffin. If you don't know me, I'm a DP based in New York City right now, and I'm growing, developing, and pushing myself to be the best cinematographer that I possibly can be. And YouTube's sort of an avenue I'm doing that through. All right, but getting into today's actual video, we're gonna talk through the FX3 and how it is the ultimate FX3 build. Now, I do wanna preface that this build is mainly for production use, right? On set, big productions, larger scale, not run and gun videography style stuff, production. Now, I think the camera is built out really well for that. I don't wanna say that this is the perfect build ever. I know that people have built FX3s to a really beautiful, really functioning build, and this is sort of mainly just built off of what I've had available to me, equipment and parts wise, over the years for this camera. The FX3 is actually only a year old or so to me, and so a lot of the pieces that I have for it are mainly just pieces that I had laying around. So the goal wasn't to really invest a whole lot of money into the system, as it was just supposed to be a B cam on set, and the return on investment was supposed to be a little quicker and easier for me. I digress. Let's dive into this build and how I've created a pretty successful feeling cinema camera when on a production set. Boom. All right, let's start building this camera up. I have everything laid out behind us over here. Before we dive into all of that, I want to talk about this tripod system just for a second. This is Sachtler's Active 8T tripod system. I freaking love it. I made a YouTube video about it not too long ago, and it's been great, used for big cameras, small cameras, and especially a build like this, it is perfect. Now, one of my favorite parts about this tripod is the quick release plate up top, which is attached to our first item of the build, and that is our dovetail plate. This is Small Rig's 8-inch lightweight dovetail plate that I've had for years, and it's super awesome for giving you flexibility when balancing a camera and putting that right where you need to. But just listen to this clipping in. Oh, it just sounds so good and sturdy. And again, we can just basically slide the camera build onto this dovetail plate and give us that flexibility and room. If you don't rock a dovetail, I highly recommend it. It's awesome. But getting into the next step, which is our base plate system right here. We have two different pieces, if you can't see, that are attached together that kind of create this base plate system. The two pieces are Small Rig's 15mm rod dovetail base plate, and then Small Rig's newer, more like introduction to the market of their Small Rig V-mount battery plate, screwed together with two mounting points in the bottom, which is awesome and sturdy. This essentially gives me flexibility of one, having the traditional sliding onto the dovetail. Unfortunately, unlike a Bright Tangerine M49 or maybe Small Rig has newer ones, it is not a side loading mount, but it's okay. I rarely am taking this off once it's set weight-wise onto this tripod. Now, not only do we get a quick release Arca Swiss plate up top on this thing, but the mount is actually flexible when you can move back and forth your V-mount or your battery plate, as well as gives you the flexibility to turn a knob and you can swing your battery plate wherever you want. Now, I don't know who's doing a 40-degree angle on the back of their camera, but you can do that and it gives you the option. Now, what's a 15mm base plate with rod holes without rods? These are just two Small Rig rods that I got years ago. We actually had two 12-inch ones originally, but we ended up cutting one on a production one day to have a camera fit underslung on a shopping cart. Really cool rig. Personally like to rock rails regardless of if I have any type of follow focus system or lens support on, just because I feel like I like the flexibility of having something to hold on to. As you're opping, you can kind of use and get a hold of these rails and get it to a point where you get nice control and flexibility with the rods on. We're actually gonna use them a good bit today with the lens support coming up, as well as throwing a follow focus on in a second. Now, I do know I have a V-mount plate on the back here. See, there is some Velcro on it, and that is because I actually love gold mount batteries. So we have a gold mount to V-mount adapter with a couple of D-taps in the back of it. This to me is just the better side of life. I'm a gold mount guy all the way through. I have gold mounts, and it's what I've had. I did have a couple Small Rig V-mounts back in the day. However, I don't think they held power very well. And I've seen a lot of V-mounts on set actually pop off and fall, and I've experienced that myself. Can't tell, there's a little bit of soft side Velcro tape here, and that is actually to get rid of any wiggle on the back when I'm plugging this guy in. So it's nice and taut and sturdy, and there's no play whatsoever. Lens support piece. Now, this one is from Small Rig again, and it's okay. It definitely is not the best. I prefer one of the ones where you can actually put on spacers and they screw into the camera. This one does a trick. However, I don't really appreciate how long this extra rail is, as when you set the camera down flat, it hangs off pretty low. And it's actually just my roommate's. I lost mine a long time ago, so we are borrowing this one for now. Now, I don't always rock a lens support. However, when follow focuses are on and you're using bigger PL glass or heavier glass in general, just good so you get less wiggle out of the frame or put too much pressure on the actual like flange of the mount on the camera. But I think it is time to talk about our camera for today, which is the Sony FX3. This thing is pretty classic. I've actually am just coming up on a year of ownership now. I know I was pretty late to the game when it came to the FX3. I was a Red Komodo guy for a while. I went that route originally. And now buying the Venice, I wanted something that could be a nice B cam and a little smaller for, maybe some budget-friendly productions. And the FX3 is something a good buy at the time that was really familiar with companies, and it has been great, and it's been a good ROI so far. Now the cage system that I have on this one is SmallRig's Hawk Lock system. I didn't get the full handle at all because I don't really use the top handle ever. So this one was nice. It came with a nice comfy small rig cage and a little HDMI holder, which is really appropriate and needed, I think, with how much they wiggle and come around, with a nice Arca Swiss plate on the bottom, which gives us flexibility to slide the camera on quick and easily to this guy right here. If you can notice, there is a little bit of a 15mm rod holder right here, which I actually don't use it often, but it does have a cable that I actually use to sort of hold that nice and tighter, and has a nice NATO rail up top, which fits the other top handle that I've had forever. And just slides right in. There is a little line up front. We just line that up with the V-mount battery plate, lock it in, and boom. It's starting to look like a production build. How about that? All right, next up, we're gonna go to our PL adapter, since we're rocking PL glass today. This one is DZO's E to PL. Now this thing's been great. It does the trick. It fits all the lenses that I've ever used and is pretty lightweight, doesn't catch anything. Now, if you have some money and some flexibility and are thinking about variable ND filters or ND at all, I really recommend looking at Breakthrough Filters, or E to PL. They make a very beautiful, perfect colored, really good fitting, well machined VND filter that goes into here. I know there's the Poco or the Moco purple one that a lot of people use that's like $430, and it's a lot more of a budget friendly option. However, I don't think the color shift is nearly anywhere as close to and as flexibly good as the Breakthrough Filters one. So if you have the money, I used to have it on my Red Komodo, and I've used it on the Raptor a bunch of times, and it's amazing, and I would highly recommend Breakthrough Filters if you need V&D. Okay, here is my baby. This one is from 8sin. It's the Komodo packaged top handle, but it works great with any NATO rail. This one's pretty cool because it gives you the option of a horseshoe in the front of the top handle, or if you want to switch sides, you can loosen it up and move the handle wherever you want. And then you get a, 3/8 or 1/4 on the front, the fat one. I always get it mixed up. But you get that on the front, and so that's awesome. So that's what we're gonna use today. I'm trying to lock this up. So just slide this guy on. I get questions on this top handle all the time. I freaking love it. Make sure it's taut, it's good, not going anywhere. Bing! There's not a lot of good when working on bigger productions without a transmission system, especially a good one. And right now we have the Teradek Bolt 750 with the internal antennas. This thing is incredible. As coming from someone who had the DJI transmission system originally, I do appreciate this one, being that it's a little bit more standard of this brand being on set and working with other people's systems and connecting to multiple, available, right? A lot of times ACs have their own Teradek systems, or productions want a director's monitor, and it's usually Teradek from rental houses. And so having the Bolt created really well into a lot of different versatile sets that I'm on personally. And so I ended up changing over to Teradek, and I love it, especially being that a transmission system like this has a looping system where we can go HDMI in from the FX3 and then loop out SDI into the monitor. A lot of the homies understand that I definitely don't always like to loop out from the monitor, being that maybe a first or director might lose a little bit of latency. The less cables your feed is running through, the better. And so this straight from camera is super awesome. And then I'll always go to monitor after that. Now the way I connect it to the camera is I use this little cold shoe mount that Teradek provides. I think it's great, being that I have a horseshoe on the back over here. I can slide it on pretty simply. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, this is probably the weakest part of this entire build, is this little cold shoe mount, but it does put the transmitter in a nice line with the handle, and it's nice and clean out of the way, especially when the battery's right here, like you'll see. It's not, dangling off the side like a lot of people put, or on a magic arm somewhere, or crammed. Gets the job done, and I think is great, and allows me to run all the cables decently through the system. And of course, we have to have a monitor on the camera, as being this little screen isn't always the best for viewing, and I like seeing an image. So two little things. We have Condor Blue's little quick release systems that are really great for just breaking the monitor really quickly and get things out of the way fast. A very worn out 8-inch small rig magic arm that's done the trick for a while. I probably need to invest in one that's actually one you tighten with a wrench, and a little nicer than this one. I know Bright Tangerine makes an incredible one, but they're still doing the trick just enough, and I haven't justified the extra $100 on a nice magic arm. So We'll rock these out and then throw on the monitor in a second. Now, a trick with magic arms is to always have them facing the right. That way all of the weight is tightening your magic arm or your arm, whatever, and not loosening it, right? So the weight's on this side, we're just gonna add more tension to the screw, whereas if it's the other side, it would just kind of come loose and fall off mid-take. And it's always annoying having a floppy magic arm when you need it. For our monitor, we have the Small HD Cine 5. I got this on a B&H daily deal like a year ago. And if you don't know, Small Rig always has a daily deal once a month. So just be on the lookout. They're awesome, incredible. I think it was like $300 off. And yeah, 5-inch for me is perfect. I'm not a crazy TV screen on my camera kind of guy, so this is just the perfect size for me. This gives you a lot of flexibility to put the monitor wherever you need. You know, is it here? Do we want it here? Maybe we're doing a documentary thing, it's here. Maybe the AC wants to see it, we can put it flush over here. So I definitely like the flexibility of what this gives you, especially on a production. Like, you just need that flexibility, and it's worth the little extra side piece this little arm gives you. So obviously our camera build needs a lens to see out of, and so we're gonna throw on our Dizio Arls 40mm 1.4 prime. Today, I love the Dizio Arls set. I have a 5 set that I bought last year. Beautiful lenses. They kind of give you a Cook look, like a Cook S4 in my opinion, off a Super 35 is kind of what I feel like they look like. And I've really enjoyed them, and they're definitely a bang for buck and a good step up from the Vespids, which are very popular. Would definitely recommend 3 of these instead of a set of five or 6 from Vespid if you can. Now, this is where we're going with our lens support. Find a good spot for it. Give it a nice little push up, just take the weight off, and we'll tighten her down. Now that's looking like a camera build, right guys? Ooh, love that, look at that look. Like a tank on the side of the FX3. I've seen somebody put like an Optimo, like 24-290 on there, or whatever, 12-1. On an FX3, it was like, it's incredible looking. But being that we have a lens on and this will be for production use, we're gonna throw a follow focus system on. This is the Nucleus M2 motor. I actually personally have not taken that on the field yet. My ACs have all been covered with follow focus systems, so it's been great. And yeah, I haven't used it yet. I do want to, and kind of like throw in the knob a little bit, but yeah, we'll throw this on, always on the right side in my opinion, unless you can't. Get out of the way of the operator, line it up. All right, sweet, Nucleus is on there pretty good. I think it's time to do some fun cabling and organizing it to the best I possibly can. Now, before I go, I wanna say that all these cables are not like custom fit or anything like that. And I definitely think that'd be a fun investment to do for this build, and it can really clean it up, but we're gonna try our best. I'll show you guys a little trick I do to make it as clean as possible. First cable up is a D-tap splitter. This is a D-tap to 4 D-tap splitter, just an off-brand, whatever one. I know people aren't super crazy about D-tap splitters, neither am I. However, a lot of the FX3 builds that have those like Cine back systems anyways, I hope you guys know they are low-key just using D-tap splitters. So what we got, obviously 2-pin would be amazing, but for this project, D-tap splitter. Cable for Nucleus, this is their standard one. This one's always a chunky guy, it has these 2 like funky things, and I always think this cable is a weird length. But yeah, I think it's what, D-tap to like their weird 5-pin system or 8-pin. Now we have a HDMI cord that goes from our camera to the Teradek system, or our transmission system in this case. From our Teradek to our monitor, we have an SDI cable. This one is a right angled one. Then we have a D-tap to 2-pin cable for our Teradek transmission system. This is the one that comes with Teradek, does the trick. I'm always curious why they chose red. And then we have a tilted version of that same thing. This one is D-tap to 2-pin for the monitor. I mean, I guess you go either way, but this one is braided, kind of nice. Not as long as I'd like, maybe it could be a little longer, but does the trick well. And what makes this all possible is this Condor Blue D-tap to USB-C braided blue cable. I wanted a black one really bad in this, but they didn't have it in stock. But this thing is cool because it allows you to run power from the D-tap or the battery into the camera, and allows you to just charge the camera all the time and keeps a battery inside the camera. I'm not a fan of dummy batteries personally. I've seen some fry cameras, and so I didn't want that. And it's nice that this can just sort of charge your battery the entire time that you're shooting, or you can unplug it and don't even have to use this part. But Condor Blue, this allows it so that it can hold the correct voltage for the camera. I think it's under 8 volts is the goal. So I'm gonna take a second and put all of those together and then show you guys what I do to kind of mediate a little bit of the cables and bulkiness of the build. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit hard to see, but cable-wise, I wanted to touch back real quick. We have that blue Condor cable coming in through this little tilted thing that I talked about earlier. This sort of just kind of keeps it a little more taut right here, actually, and I kind of like having that there. And if I put the cable out of the USB-C port, it just kind of hangs right here in place. So that's nice. And then HDMI cable running over here, masterpiece of cables over here. We have it running to the tear deck system, and then as you can see here, there's a couple more cables. There's actually a D-tap splitter sitting right inside of here between the battery plate and the FX3. And I feel like that allows all the cables to kind of sit nicely inside the build and not on the outside as much. But we have things spinning around, looping around into our monitor, our nucleus, and again, our tear deck here. But yeah, that is sort of the build. I know it's not the cleanest thing in the world. I think with some custom cables and whatnot, this could be even cleaner and nicer and a little bit more efficient. But let's throw a battery in this thing and then talk through ND. Now, my battery choice is gold mount, of course, but specifically Anton Bauer's and these micro batteries. I have 4 150s of these Titans micros and then 3 90s. I want to get one more 90 and have a 4 and 4 set. These are great. This will last all day with the FX3 and all of this built together. So I never have to worry about battery change or anything like that. And it just pops on nice and secure. And with the battery plate, none of the cables are actually going into these single batteries. So I can run everything off and almost hot swap batteries if I really need to, just off the camera. And so that's really efficient and nice. And when it's, working with people and other ACs, it's nice to just throw a battery on and off and not have to worry about other cables unplugging, and all of the cabling as neat as it can be stays put. But yeah, check this thing out. This is kind of what it looks like, almost fully built. I mean, we got transition systems, we have gold mount batteries, we have monitor, we have a follow focus system hooked up. We got top handle, we have room, we have access buttons, which is really nice. Screen on the side for, readouts and whatnot. All the things, all the shebang. ND though. Now there's a couple different options that I have depending on what the flow of set might be. One of the easiest ones and most popular with these lenses is just a VND filter. Nisi, in my opinion, their true color available ND filters are some of the best and the cleanest. I've used Tiffin, I've used whatever brands you can think of. These things are awesome. And we can just screw this on nice and easily, and that'll give us for sure 1 to 5 stops, no problem. And that usually does the trick most of the time, maybe just stopping up a little bit here and there. They do make an attachment that's a 4-stop attachment that can do 1 to 5 or 1 to 9 stops essentially. Next option up is obviously a map box. This one is Tilta's MBT-12 map box. It is a 3-stage map box. It gives me nice 3 trays where you can stack NDs, but also keep in a filter, perhaps maybe a black satin, pro mist, some popular ones, what have you, a black magic. I love that flexibility of, the 3 stops and 3 stages, because having 2 is just not enough, especially when working with NDs. And if you're needing to, kind of stack them, then this is great. I honestly think this is as good as Aries clamp-on map box. I've used that one a good amount of times. You don't get the side doors perhaps, but you get a nice big wide door up top. And this one clamps on nicely. And now it's like, we're really filming something here. And this is like official. You can change the backing of these to different sizes. Right now, this is a 95 millimeter. I have a 134, 114. You can go 80 millimeter, whatever size you can think of for your lens. You can have it for this. But boom, here is our final freaking build real quick. Production ready, good to go. And being that it's all on the quick release plate, comes off pretty nicely and it's not too big or in your way. You can kind of throw it on your shoulder a little bit and rock out. So I'm pretty happy with the build. Again, there's some cables right there. Tear deck system. Clamps in. Good to go. Okay, that was the FX3 build for today. Again, this is more production focused and not necessarily run and gun. Really for tripod stuff, I mean, obviously it's light enough where you can throw on your shoulder, run around with maybe an easy saddle, or if you want to go even a mini max little easy rig, you could definitely do that. A lot of FX3 builds out there. I think if you're looking for something that works well in production and don't want to go the cine body for the FX3 or that kind of like 3D printed style box system, this is a good route. It's not anything crazy like Bright Tangerine or Wooden Camera or Mid 49, but small rig does a trick, I think it works well for a lot of cases in this scenario. And yeah, but yeah, thanks for watching so much. I really do appreciate all the support for the long form videos. I've been cooking out a couple here and there, and it's been really fun, and I definitely have had a great time. So hope the video was a little bit informal, hopefully, and if not, somewhat entertaining, or if you just like camera builds, welcome, me too. But yeah, thank you guys so much, really appreciate it. Can't wait to see you guys for the next video. Much love.